Hello, and welcome to Up Close on METV. I'm Charles Clapsaddle, Station Manager for Manatee Educational Television, and it is my great pleasure today to welcome the Executive Director of the Manatee Community Foundation, a true legend in this community, Susie Bowie. Susie, thank you so much for joining us. I deeply appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to spend a few moments with us to talk not only about the Community Foundation, but also the new opportunity that has come your way.
Charles, thank you so much for having me. And if anyone is legendary here in our community, it is you.
That's not true. That's very kind of you to say that. But I must say the Community Foundation is an integral part of Manatee County. It has done so much for such a period of time under your leadership and under your vision to provide services and resources for the nonprofit community. What I'd like to do before we get into some details is for you to give me kind of an overview of what a community foundation does. What is its mission and how does it accomplish that?
Thank you. Well, the Community Foundation, Manatee Community Foundation in particular, is a very important place here in Manatee County. And, you know, there are community foundations all over the country, and all of us do one thing in common. We work in a place. We're very place-based, and we focus on donors that live in that community that have aspirations for how their community can be a better place. So they come to the Community Foundation, they have their own charitable funds, and we work with those donors to help them become aware of the opportunities to make a difference, working with local nonprofits, maybe opening their own scholarship funds to help students. That's one of the things that's so important to our Community Foundation is the number of donors we have been able to work with in Manatee County that have their own visions for how we can be a better place. But in addition to that, our Community Foundation has done a lot of work in leadership, which means bringing people together to discuss the issues that are so important in our time, bringing nonprofits together for collaboration and learning, and just bringing that information to the larger group of people in Manatee County that want to see us do better.
And that builds strength among the nonprofits too. Once people collaborate together, connect together, it builds a stronger positive outlook for all the nonprofits that are involved.
It truly does, Charles. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is there's already so much informal collaboration that is taking place among the nonprofits in our community. But sometimes they just need a place to do it. They need a physical place or they need the space created for them. So I've got to say, I was so lucky when I first started at Manatee Community Foundation in April of 2016. We had just moved into a brand new building on Manatee Avenue West. So very fortunate to have that space, and many people contributed the dollars to make the space possible. You probably know Gene Fogarty and Chuck Slater, two legends in our community, led that capital campaign. And because of it, we have this amazing meeting room that has been used for philanthropic conversations. It's been used for nonprofits to come together and talk about how to address issues that impact people that live here. But it's also been used for their own things, you know, whether it's board retreats or community conversations. And so having that space has really been important for our growth.
Well, and if I may say, it's a beautiful space. It's well designed, well laid out, and it encourages those organizations that participate in there, you know, to have a positive can-do approach because the space kind of lends itself to that. But one of the things that's really important, in my opinion, that you have done and you've accomplished by bringing these nonprofits together is setting up a series of conversations, discussions, insight into a wide variety of things. It could be about media or funding or whatever the scope of it is. But throughout the years, again, under your leadership and guidance, you've had a whole series of workshops, insight, meetings that encourage these nonprofits.
Yes, so a couple things about that. First of all, we've been very grateful for Manatee County government. They have generously provided funding for us to get the nonprofits together on a monthly basis.
Sure.
And so there's a couple different types of things we do. Trainings and learning sessions where organizations can often learn from each other, new concepts, whether it's how do we develop a good fundraising plan? How do we have better governance? How can we better communicate our message to the larger public? So that's kind of one group. And another group is community conversations, just bringing different people together to talk about their aspirations around a particular topic. One of the things I feel really proud of with the Manatee Connect sessions that we have held for the nonprofits is they're often led by other nonprofit leaders. Yeah. Now, it's great when you have consultants come in that have expertise in a certain space, but at Manatee Community Foundation, we really recognize the expertise that nonprofit leaders bring to their own work. And so some leaders are better known for their expertise in fundraising. Others are known for how they form and work with a really strong board of directors, and others are known for other things. So we try to capitalize on some of those strengths and bring them in to lead or facilitate those conversations, because some of the greatest sources, right, of expertise come from people who have been there.
And I think that is, hitting the nail right on the head, is to have those people with the existing expertise sharing that with a wide variety of other organizations that empower, engage other organizations to be the best that they can be.
Absolutely. And we really believe as well of the expertise of nonprofit staff. They are professional staff that work in these positions. I know so often we hear if nonprofits could just be more like businesses, or what do they have to learn from the business world? But listen, this is really hard work, and the people doing the work have considerable expertise, and they should be respected for that. So we really enjoy bringing them in and having them share what they know with others, because we're all better together and we all learn from each other. And I'll tell you that our staff learns from interacting with the nonprofits about how we can do a better job. So it works both ways.
And if I may say so, and we wanted to talk about this at some point, and might as well do it right now, is the fact that the staff for the Manatee Community Foundation is one of the best in this entire area. Hardworking, driven, very receptive to working with others. It's a wonderful staff that you've assembled over the period of time that you've been with the Community Foundation.
Well, I am very proud of the staff that we have at Manatee Community Foundation, and there are many words that I could use to describe them. They're knowledgeable, they are experienced, but they're also humble. And the way that we approach our work is knowing that everyone has something to bring to this work that is really important. It's critical that we understand they are connected to the larger community, because I think traditionally foundations have been viewed in many ways. And one of the ways that they have been viewed is, what is the sense of power that we bring to the dynamic with nonprofits, right? Everyone knows that we have money, and we know that the nonprofits want to get some of that money or resources. So it's really important that we approach this from the perspective of nonprofits have the knowledge of working directly with people in the community. We need to learn from them, and we need to be playing on a different type of field where we're both equal contributors to a conversation. So our staff really approach their work with a sense of humble responsibility, not only in terms of the nonprofits, but in terms of the donors that we work with. So we are only able to do our work because there are generous people who make the funding available to support the nonprofits and also fund our own operations. So that's the other sense of humble that comes.
And again, a wonderful shout out to your staff, which is that humble aspiration that they have is evident in everything that they do. But you touched on a subject, and if we may, I'd like to take a moment or two to do that, is about your donors. Mm-hmm. the way the foundation is that you can donate through the community foundation to designate where your dollars would want to go. It's not as if, you donate to the community foundation and decisions are made without that input. Tell us a little bit about, the donors themselves and how, one, they can designate their dollars, and two, how widespread your donor base truly is.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about that. So this is our 25th anniversary at Manatee Community Foundation. And since we were started in 1998, we have awarded $50 million in grants and scholarships.
That's amazing.
So
let's repeat that.
Yeah.
Again. Since 1998, in funding that has gone out to over $50 million.
Exactly, has gone out into the community.
That's amazing.
And so the reason that's possible is because of the donors. So the way that they work with us is really special. A couple different ways, Charles. Many donors choose to have what's called a donor advised fund, which means they can come to the community foundation, they can open up a fund, and by doing that, they're making a charitable contribution when they open the fund to the community foundation. But that fund is there, and then they can let us know when they would like to recommend a grant from their fund that will benefit either our community or another community. As long as it's a 501c3, they're able to make that decision. A lot of our staff work comes in providing education to the donors about things they care about. So they may come to us and say, I'm really passionate about veterans, or I'm passionate about children, I'm passionate about the environment. Can you tell me more about opportunities for my money to make a major impact in Manatee County? So our staff rely on our knowledge. What organizations are out there truly making a difference in those spaces? Are they effective with their dollars? Are they making gains for people or animals or whatever it is the donors care about? And we can make those recommendations to donors, and they can choose to recommend a grant from their fund. So that's one way we work with these generous donors. Another way is with their charitable legacy planning. So many people know they may not have resources for philanthropy while they're living, but when they pass, other resources may become available. A lot of us don't know how long we're going to live or how many resources we need. So these donors work with the community foundation and say, I'd like to establish a legacy with you, but I'd like to have great trust and confidence that when I pass, that money will be used for exactly what's important to me. So we work very closely not only with those donors, but with professional advisors, whether they're estate planning attorneys or CPAs or wealth managers, to work with their clients and partner with them to create those legacies. So those are two really important ways we work with donors. I want to talk about two others real quick.
Sure, absolutely.
We love initiative work. So whether it's work specifically supporting, youth and foster care, whether it's helping after the Hurricane Ian made a major impact in our region, and the Community Foundation was well positioned to help, or whether it's helping during the time of COVID, we create funds at Manatee Community Foundation that donors can contribute to, knowing that we understand the community and where their dollars can make the biggest difference. So many donors choose to contribute to those funds, and they have faith and confidence that our staff will invest those funds to support those particular things.
So basically what you're saying is that you have this overriding fund. So if someone says, we saw the devastation of Ian. We want to help in some capacity, in some way. We're going to go through the community foundation and allow them to use our dollars for that purpose.
Absolutely. And so let's take Hurricane Ian, for example. Even before the hurricane hit, right, we were all anxious. We knew that it was going to hit somewhere in Southwest Florida. And we knew that there was going to be considerable support needed. So we looked at our Manatee Community Foundation Disaster Relief Fund. We started communicating. We were able to get some matching funds that were able to support us from the Bishop Parker Foundation and encourage other donors to give, because they would get a one-to-one match. And we were able to start raising those funds even before the hurricane hit. And these are people that said, we're not sure what the needs are going to be, but we know that Manatee Community Foundation has the pulse on the community. We know they'll do the research, and we know that our dollars will make a difference.
And you're proactive.
And we're proactive. So with all of the relationships that we've built with the nonprofits, the communications we have with them, we were able to reach out immediately after the storm and say, what kinds of immediate needs do you have as an organization, but also the people that you're serving. So just as an example, we were able to learn that many people, maybe they lost all of the food in their refrigerator because their power was out for 3 or 4 days,
Right.
and they don't have the money to replace that food. So we were able to get dollars out to the organizations that work with those clients. They know the clients have a need. They
Right.
already have that relationship. We were able to help, right? Or let's take Manatee or Myakka Elementary School out in
Perfect
Myakka.
example.
They suffered great damage out in the Myakka area. So we were able to grant $40,000 to help them and help the faculty at the school, help the students that were impacted get money that they really needed to get back on their feet, trusting the relationship with the PTO out there and also the Manatee Education Foundation through which those funds flowed.
And I would suggest to you, Susie, if I may, that the Manatee Community Foundation identifies needs. Whether it's an immediate need like a Hurricane Ian, or a long-term need like grade level reading, identifies those needs that resources can help, and immediately tries to put their efforts into helping those facilities solve an issue, and that's a wonderful way. As I mentioned, not only are you proactive, but you're also long thinking too. You don't think immediate, you think long-term strategically in how to solve these things as well. One question I did have for you as donors and the wonderful way that you've dealt with them is that if a donor says, I need to do something, I would like to do something for foster children, I'm not sure who to deal with, how to deal with them, but I want to do something on behalf of foster, for example. So they would come to you and you would sit down with them and your staff and say, these are options that are available to you that your funding could go into. And then that donor can pick and choose how best he wants to invest their donation.
Absolutely. And foster care is a great example. Back in 2016, shortly after I started at the Community Foundation, I got a call from Terry Hansen over at the Charles and Marjorie Barancik Foundation, and she said, I'm reading a lot of things about Manatee County, about the opioid epidemic, about the resulting crisis that we're having in child welfare.
Situation.
Can you recommend, as a community foundation, a couple of ways that we might be able to invest? Did a little bit of research, got back to her, and we started thinking and said, this is way bigger than just recommending a couple of organizations. Of course, we could do that. We know that they'll be trusted organizations. You can make an impact now, or we can think about how do we make more of a systemic impact. So she gave us some funds at the Community Foundation to do one of the things we do best, which is community leadership. We hired a consultant, and we started working with all of the organizations in Manatee County and the county as well that have a role in child welfare. We put these organizations together, and they decided where philanthropy could make the greatest impact. So they gave us a couple of great ideas, and then those organizations presented to the other foundations in our area. So we work in a couple different ways. We can always make specific recommendations to donors about organizations that they may wish to support in the short term, or in the long term, we can take the more strategic approach and say, we're not going to solve this problem tomorrow. We're probably not going to solve it by the end of the year. And I'm sorry to say that was 2016, now it's 2023, we haven't solved it. But what we have done is we formed a network of organizations that work in child welfare that are now communicating differently, that are thinking more strategically about how they can work together, and they're also using a greater results framework in how we achieve results for children. So it's been a wonderful process, and what we've seen at the Community Foundation, in addition to having a fund that addresses foster care that anyone may contribute to and get a tax deduction, we're also having more conversations with donors because they know that that's an area where we have a greater pool of knowledge. And so we're seeing money go directly from their donor advised funds to organizations that work in this space.
And if I may say so, Susie, it's a very smart way of looking at how to solve things. As you mentioned, a lot of issues can't be solved overnight or within a year or a period of time. So not only do you have to think about the immediate, but you have to think strategically as well. And how best to solve that with a combination of the best efforts that everybody can be put forward.
That's right.
And if I would like to mention a couple of other projects that the Community Foundation has been involved with, which has made a significant input into our community. One of those is grade level reading, which is an important facet because they said if you're not reading at grade level by grade 3, you're never going to be able to catch up. The Community Foundation kind of hit the ground running on this because you wanted to be a part of that grade level reading to acceptable standards.
Absolutely. So the Campaign for Grade Level Reading, we're so fortunate in our 4-county area because there are Campaign for Grade Level Reading initiatives that are taking place in all 4 counties. In Manatee County, United Way Suncoast is the lead partner in the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. And that's really important to us for many reasons because partnership is one of the ways that we work through the foundation. What I'll share about the Campaign for Grade Level Reading and the work that we have been able to do in partnership with United Way Suncoast and the Patterson Foundation and others is help donors understand all of the different factors that go into a child's success. So one of the reasons that many children are not reading on grade level by the end of the 3rd grade is because perhaps they're hungry, perhaps they haven't gotten all of the early learning supports they needed to be ready for kindergarten by the time kindergarten starts for them. Maybe they don't have the right support over the summer to make sure that they don't slide back over the summer months because they're not reading. Maybe they need a little bit more parental involvement and engagement. And so many of these things occur because families may be living paycheck to paycheck. Their parents may be working 2 or 3 jobs.
They could be homeless.
They could be homeless. They may not know the resources that are available to them. So one of the ways that we've been able to impact the Campaign for Grade Level Reading in Manatee County is through our partnerships with other foundations and institutions like United Way Suncoast, but also through providing education to donors. Here are all of the ways that you can make a difference, either through your own fund, through volunteerism, or perhaps by supporting other funds. Right? So I'll give you just one example of that. SOAR and 4 is a wonderful program, right, in Manatee County, and we're so proud.
Wonderful organization.
Wonderful, and Steve Roskamp, who has really led that work, who has made so much of it possible, and Carolyn Roskamp. They're not just donors at Manatee Community Foundation, but Steve is a board member. He's very involved in our work at a governance level, and he and his wife have been such tremendous leaders in engaging other people. So it's not just about what one person can do. It's about how do you pull other people along, help them understand the importance. So SOAR and 4, they have these great events. Many of them take place at the Bishop, right? The last one I attended at the Bishop, there was a line of families waiting to get in. They knew that they were going to get a backpack. They knew they were going to get exposed to learning. They knew they were going to be able to work on activities with their children.
It was a wonderful event, and we've done many things with the Ross Camps, and they're to be applauded for their not only their level of effort, but also for their encouragement to other organizations to participate in some capacity as they kind of move forward. But if we could, on SOAR and 4 is a wonderful program. Dr. Sheila Halpin is involved in it, the Ross Camps. The events that they do are always crowded. They encourage that parental thing, parent as well as children, encourage reading. So I think it's a very important organization, and the success rate of it, with the help of the foundation, has been immeasurable.
And it is because so many different people work together. Of course, Dr. Halpin has been responsible for designing this program, but Steve and Carolyn, and I will say, they exemplify many of the donors that we have in this community because they approach the work with such humbleness. Again, that word humble. It's not about them, it's about the difference that they want to see made in the lives of children and families. So that's something that's really special for us to see in Manatee County, and I think some of that is unique to Manatee County.
Well, one of the things, Susie, and I'd like for you to take a moment, because I want to spend some time with on your next opportunity that's coming down the road. But talk a little bit about what you think the Community Foundation has meant to our community, to Manatee County in general. The impact that it has made, the importance of reaching out, not only to help people, but to encourage and make other organizations stronger and much more viable as they continue their services. What does it mean to you to see the success that the Community Foundation has?
Well, first I'll say that I've been really excited to see the difference we've been able to make with so many people. Again, our team, our board, the nonprofits, the donors,
Exactly.
community members that come together. I think one of the biggest, I'll say, things about our work that has brought me joy and a feeling of success is the level of participation, because it's not one person. It's how does each person work together to make that difference. And as we look at the capacity of nonprofits, which we talk about a lot, if the nonprofits are successful in their work, if they're successful raising money, and most importantly, if they're successful in making gains for the people they serve, we will continue to see our community have new opportunities for access and inclusion for all people. And so continuing to increase the opportunities for everyone to have a voice, that is one of the things that Manatee Community Foundation has started to elevate. And I think we have a lot more work to do in that area. So we're not just talking about community leaders or nonprofit staff. We're talking about people in the community.
Correct.
What do they want to see in their community? Trusting them to come to us with the answers, and then we can help provide some of the resources to do that. Because most people know what they need to be successful. It's listening to their voices and providing them with the resources to do so.
And I would suggest to you, Susie, that during your tenure at the Community Foundation, you have absolutely created that kind of situation where people feel comfortable, secure, and they can rely on the services that you will offer, the suggestions that you will make to try to solve whatever issue is in front of them, whether it be foster care or grade level reading or whatever the case may be. But you've generated that. You've generated that sense of trust and reliability, and that's a wonderful thing for an organization to have, is that they know they can go and talk to somebody and get an answer that will help them solve their issue.
Thank you. And I'll say that I've learned a lot too. You know, part of our role is to be learners, that we don't come to the table having the answers for everything, but we're investigators and we learn. And sometimes we realize maybe we weren't doing something right and we need to learn. And so part of what we have learned is that a lot of times our recommendations, they need to come directly from community that is ultimately going to be served by a grant, right? And those are the types of recommendations that we can make, you know, to donors that are thinking about making a difference.
And that's a wonderful example to talk about. But I'd like to take a moment now. You've been with the Manatee Community Foundation since 2016. You've done a wonderful job. As I mentioned before, it's an integral part of this community. It's done so much. But there has come an opportunity for you to move on, and to move on to a position, again, of great responsibility, and that's to be the new CEO of the William G. and Mary Selby Foundation, which is a large organization, a large foundation. Tell us a little bit about the Selby Foundation and why it's important for you to transition to that.
Thank you. So it is so exciting to think about this new opportunity, and it's also exciting for me to think about how I'll continue to remain engaged in Manatee Community Foundation. I have a small fund there. I'm a legacy member. I truly believe in it. So the Selby Foundation is so special. There's a couple of things that are really important to that foundation. One is scholarships, and one is investing in capital, right? Capital for nonprofits in Sarasota, Manatee, Charlotte, and DeSoto counties. So they work in a 4-county area, which of course is exciting to me, Charles, because it gives me the opportunity to stay plugged into Manatee County.
And a chance to expand.
Exactly. And so many of the organizations that are in our region do not just serve one county, they serve multiple counties. So it's a chance to bring that strength again to all 4 counties as a region. Something really special about the William G. and Marie Selby Foundation, in addition to just having a very forward-thinking board, a history of great success, history of making a true impact, they just completed a scholarship study. They did the scholarship study in partnership with another friend, the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. And it's pointed out some ways that we have a real opportunity to make some different work possible with scholarships. You know, we always tend to give scholarships to the same students, the very top of their class, students that have the least amount to pay for their schooling. But there are many other students that we leave out of that work. And they're great opportunities to work together. So I know that part of what the Selby Foundation would like to do going forward is increase the partnerships with other institutions that give scholarships and talk about how can we do a better job of this by working together.
What a great idea.
All about access, all about opportunity. And for the Selbys, right, that was one of the things they cared about most was education. They saw that the lack of education or the opportunity to get a full education stood in the way of someone who was just like them to be as successful as they were able to be. So I'm thrilled about that, but also thrilled about being able to keep a foot here in Manatee.
Well, that's the exciting part, that you'll still be able to be partly in Manatee for services. But the Selby Foundation, you know, is a very forward-looking organization. It has the highest reputation. And for you to be named the CEO just kind of cements or solidify, you know, their efforts on behalf of the public that it serves. So again, congratulations on that position, and the Selby Foundation is very fortunate to be able to have you move into that position. And you have left the Manatee Community Foundation in such great shape. Not only do you have a wonderful staff, but you also have a wonderful reputation throughout the county, throughout this area, as being one of those organizations that people can rely and depend on. And that's so very important, especially when you're looking at philanthropic and donor-related funds. People want an organization that they can trust, they can rely on, and they know are going to do the best they can with the dollars that are available. And you've done that without any issue whatsoever. And Manatee County is very lucky to have had you for this period of time. Not going away, but you know, we're very fortunate that you've shared your expertise, your knowledge, to encourage people to work with the foundation, as well as to have organizations that look forward to working with you, whether it's a class or a training session or whatever the case may be. The Community Foundation is an integral part of the nonprofit community and the philanthropic community here in Manatee County.
That means an awful lot coming from you, Charles, because you see and hear so many things in our community, and you are part of this community like no one else. I think that for me, I feel the greatest sense of gratitude having been able to work for the Manatee Community Foundation and just to be part of all of the giving people. And one thing that maybe I'd like to leave you with as we think about chatting with each other is the amount of good that happens in this community. So often, especially now, the headlines are just not good, right? But if every person in this community could know what I have had the chance to know and see and experience, there's not a day that goes by when the phone doesn't ring and it's someone that wants to know what they can do. And it could be something with their money, or it could be how they get plugged in with a volunteer opportunity. It could just be wanting to know of something good that they can participate in on any level. Sometimes people call and say, I've got a granddaughter and she cares about this. I want to get her plugged in, or I want to get her involved in philanthropy. What do I do? And so we have been able to serve as that nexus, right, of good.
Exactly.
And Manatee Community Foundation will continue to do that. I can't wait to see what happens in the next 25 years and really serving all of Manatee County. We started out with a small group of very influential people in West Bradenton that started Manatee Community Foundation. And look at the way Manatee County has grown.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility Manatee Community Foundation has to serve our whole county and the diverse set of charitable interests that people bring to the table. And there is so much good work to be done, and there is so much good work happening. So if everyone could only have a glimpse into that, if you're having a bad day, call Manatee Community Foundation and someone will tell you a story about something good that's happening there that's been made possible by someone who cares.
And again, if I may say so, Susie, your leadership, your vision, your efforts to grow the community foundation to where it is today, to increase your donor base, to increase the awareness of the philanthropic giving that is available. And also, on the other side, to work with those nonprofits that are doing such great service across the board, whether it's for children or the elderly or whatever organization is out there. You've done immense work to make that community foundation, again, such an important part of our greater community. We covered some ground. Unfortunately, I can sit and talk to you for much longer, but I want to give you the opportunity, to if we left out anything, something that you want to mention, and to give you a minute or so, or however long you want, for those final comments. So, did we leave out anything that you wanted to mention?
Thank you, Charles. I think one of the most important things to me, especially in regard to a community foundation and Manatee Community Foundation, is that anyone can get involved. I think some people think that only those that have millions of dollars are involved in Manatee Community Foundation, and that's not true. I'll tell you that there's some executive directors of local nonprofits that have funds and future funds with us. There are people that find ways to contribute. During COVID, during Hurricane Ian, we had gifts of $20 that came into those funds, and they make a difference too. There are ways that people can spend their time to make a difference. And Manatee Community Foundation is there to help people find their passion. So just by calling us, by telling us the things that you'd like to do, we can put people in touch with you, right? That can help you find whatever your passion or your combination of passions may be. I think sometimes, Charles, what's going on in our world may seem so overwhelming that you start feeling like as an individual, you can't possibly impact change, or it's too much. But you can, and it really starts with just asking the question, what am I most passionate about? Because that will drive what you do. And you may not know all of the nonprofits that are out there.
Right.
You may not know the ones that are most effective. You may not know the ones that are actually good at showing appreciation when you show up at the door, because that's a big piece of what you deserve when you give. And Manatee Community Foundation can be that connector for you. Whether or not someone chooses to have a formal relationship with us, we can help with that. And there's something that everyone can do to make a difference.
Well, Susie, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, not only what you've done for METV, but for this great Manatee County community. Your honesty, your ability, your efforts are really recognizable. You are a true public servant in every sense of the word. And Manatee County has been very fortunate to have your ability for this period of time. And everyone wishes you not only the very best at the Cell League, but we want you to still remain kind of connected to Manatee County as best you can. Sometimes thanks isn't enough. Because if you look back upon your tenure at the Community Foundation, what you've done for nonprofits, for the philanthropic base that you've worked with and how you've grown that, sometimes a thank you isn't enough. The results of what you've accomplished can be seen in the years to come. And that's the true legacy of what you've accomplished. And Manatee County should be very proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished. And we're just so happy that you've taken a few moments of your time to talk with us today.
Charles, I can't thank you enough. And, you know, we've known each other for a long time. I knew you before I came to Manatee Community Foundation, and what you have done for our foundation and all of the issues. You know, people don't know what's happening unless they're able to see these types of conversations that you've had with nonprofits covering our Spirit of Manatee Awards.
Wonderful
all
event.
of the things
Wonderful
that you
event.
have done, and you've done it with such joy and encouragement of everyone you work with. So
That's
this has
because
been a
of
real
you.
pleasure.
That's because of you, Ms. Bowie. And
Thank you.
again, we want to thank you again for joining us. And
you.
thank you for the service that you provided. And we wish you nothing but the very best success as the new CEO of the Selby Foundation.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Up Close on METV.